The distress signal came at 3 in the morning, station time. Dr. Kang Junho was still awake in his laboratory when the alert flashed across his screen. He had been studying samples from a newly discovered planet. But he pushed his work aside immediately. Distress signals in deep space were never good news. He walked quickly through the metal corridors of Horizon's Edge, the massive research station that floated in the darkness between stars. The station was home to hundreds of scientists and workers from dozens of different species. Humans were still new to this part of the galaxy. They had only joined the coalition of species 30 years ago, and many aliens still looked at them as primitive newcomers. Junho reached the command center and found Captain Lee Taehyun already there. Taehyun was a tall man with a serious face and sharp eyes. He had been a soldier before becoming the station's security chief, and he still moved like one. "What do we have?" Junho asked. "Talon colony ship," Taehyun answered. "The Wandering Star. It stopped transmitting 2 days ago. Now this distress signal. But no voice communication, just the automated beacon." The Talon were a peaceful species. They had blue-gray skin and large dark eyes. They were known as scholars and traders, not fighters. A colony ship would have families aboard. Children. Dr. Park Yuna entered the room next. She was the station's chief medical officer, a woman with a calm voice and steady hands. Nothing seemed to shake her. "I heard the alert," she said. "Medical team is ready. If we need them." Taehyun looked at the screen showing the drifting ship. It was close enough to reach in 6 hours. "We send a rescue team," he decided. "Junho, I want you on it. If something happened to that ship, I need someone who can figure out what." Junho nodded. He did not like the feeling growing in his stomach, but he would go. The rescue shuttle reached the Wandering Star as the station's artificial day began. The colony ship was dark. No lights in the windows. No movement visible through the glass. Junho wore a protective suit as he stepped through the airlock with Taehyun and 4 security officers. The air inside the ship smelled wrong. It was thick and warm, like the inside of a sick animal. "Lights are dead," one of the officers said, switching on his helmet lamp. They moved slowly through the corridors. The ship was designed to hold 300 Talon colonists. It should have been full of noise and life. Instead, there was only silence and shadows. Junho found the first body near the sleeping quarters. At first, he did not understand what he was looking at. The shape on the floor had the blue-gray color of Talon skin, but the form was wrong. The limbs were too long. The joints bent in directions they should not bend. The face was stretched and twisted, the mouth open in a frozen scream. "What happened to it?" Taehyun whispered. Junho knelt down, keeping his distance. His scanner beeped as it analyzed the body. "Genetic damage," he said slowly. "Massive genetic damage. The DNA has been rewritten. Changed. Changed into what? I don't know. They found more bodies as they went deeper. Some were barely recognizable as Talon. Some had grown extra limbs or eyes. Some had fused together into horrible shapes of mixed flesh. All of them were dead." Then they heard the sound. It came from the cargo hold. A wet, clicking noise. Something moving. Taehyun raised his weapon and signaled his team forward. They opened the cargo door slowly. Inside, they found survivors. The word did not feel right. The creatures that had once been Talon crouched in the darkness, their bodies twisted beyond recognition. Their eyes, too many eyes, reflected the helmet lights. They made sounds that might have been words once, but now were only animal noises. One of them rushed forward. Taehyun fired. The creature fell, but 2 more came behind it. "Fall back," Taehyun shouted. "Everyone back to the shuttle now." They ran. Junho's heart pounded in his chest as he heard the clicking and screaming behind them. They made it through the airlock and sealed it just as something slammed against the other side. The shuttle pulled away from the Wandering Star. Through the window, Junho could see shapes pressing against the colony ship's glass, watching them leave. When they returned to Horizon's Edge, Ambassador Velis was waiting for them. The Talon ambassador was old for his species. His blue-gray skin had faded to pale silver. He moved slowly and leaned on a staff, but his eyes were sharp with fear. "You found them," he said. It was not a question. "What happened to that ship?" Taehyun demanded. Velis lowered his head. "They found something. on an uncharted moon near the broken stars, an ancient structure, a relic from a species that died long before any of us existed. He paused. They opened it. They should not have opened it. Dr. Yuna had joined them in the medical bay. What was inside? We do not know what to call it. The science teams have named it the Shaper. It is a virus. But unlike any virus we have ever seen, it does not simply infect. It rewrites. It changes the very code of life itself. Junho felt cold. The mutations we saw. That was the virus? Yes. The Shaper forces rapid evolution. But there is no direction to it. No purpose. The changes are random and violent. Most victims do not survive. Those who do are no longer what they were. Taehyun stepped closer. You knew about this. How long have you known? Velis met his eyes. The first case was reported 4 months ago. Since then, the virus has spread to 14 species across 7 star systems. We have found no cure. We have found no immunity. Every species that encounters the Shaper is changed by it. He paused. Until now, we hope to contain it quietly. But it is too late for secrets now. An alarm suddenly blared through the station. Yuna checked her communicator. Her face went pale. Medical emergency. Deck 7. A Corvani trader is showing symptoms. He is changing. The Shaper had reached horizon's edge. Junho looked at Velis, then at Taehyun. The fear in the room was thick enough to touch. Quarantine the deck, Taehyun ordered. No one in or out, but even as he spoke, Junho knew it might already be too late. The wandering star had been sealed too, and it had not saved them. The silent plague had arrived, and no one knew how to stop it. The Corvani trader's name was Hess. He was a large creature with thick green skin and 4 arms. He had come to Horizon's Edge to sell rare minerals from the outer colonies. He was supposed to leave the next morning. He never left. Dr. Park Yuna reached Deck 7 with her medical team just as the screaming started. The sound was terrible. It was pain and fear mixed together, coming from a throat that was no longer shaped for normal speech. Through the window of the quarantine room, she saw Hess changing. His skin bubbled and stretched. His bones cracked and reformed. His forearms became 6, then 8. Sharp plates of bone pushed through his flesh like armor growing from inside. His face stretched forward into something like a snout, filled with new teeth. Seal the room, Yuna ordered quietly. Her voice did not shake, but her hands did. No one opens that door. Hess threw himself against the glass. It cracked but did not break. His eyes, now red and filled with rage, stared at the medical team. There was no recognition in them. Whatever Hess had been, he was gone now. Captain Taehyun arrived with security officers. He looked through the window and said nothing for a long moment. Then he turned to Yuna. Can you help him? I don't know, she admitted. I have never seen anything like this. The glass cracked again. This time, a small piece fell out. Everyone back, Taehyun said. He raised his weapon. Hess broke through. The next few minutes were chaos. The creature that had been Hess was fast and strong. It killed 2 security officers before Taehyun finally brought it down with repeated shots to the head. Green blood spread across the white floor. Yuna knelt beside the body, her scanner running over the dead flesh. The virus changed him in minutes, she said. His entire genetic structure was rewritten. Bones, muscles, organs, everything. How did he get infected? Taehyun asked. He never went to the colony ship. Dr. Junho arrived, breathing hard from running. He had been in his lab when the alarm sounded. Now he looked at the dead creature and felt his stomach turn. The virus might be airborne, he said. Or it could spread through touch. We don't know enough yet. Over the next 2 days, they learned. The Shaper spread faster than anyone expected. It moved through the station like fire through dry grass. Species after species began showing symptoms. The changes were different for each one. The Veloci, a small species with thin bodies and quick minds, grew extra limbs. The new arms moved on their own, reaching and grabbing without the Veloci controlling them. Many went mad from the horror of watching their own bodies betray them. The Rithani, tall beings known for their beautiful singing voices, lost the ability to speak. Their throats changed. and they could only make high screaming sounds. They wandered the corridors in groups, crying out in voices that no one could understand. The Corvani, like Hess, became hunters. Their bodies grew armor and claws. They attacked anything that moved. Security teams had to kill many of them. Quarantine failed. The virus was too fast, too clever. It found ways through every barrier. The Coalition Council sent a message to the station. They were considering destroying Horizon's Edge to stop the spread. A single missile could end everything. Kill the virus, kill the infected, kill the survivors. Yuna worked without sleep. She studied blood samples and tissue samples and genetic code. She was looking for a pattern, a weakness, anything that could help. Junho helped her, but his hope was fading. Every species they tested showed the same result. The virus entered the body and immediately began rewriting DNA. The immune systems of every species tried to fight it and failed. The Shaper was simply too powerful. We need to find someone immune, Yuna said during one of their long nights in the lab. One species. One individual. Anyone who can resist this thing. No one can resist it, Junho said tiredly. We've tested 32 species. 32 species. All the same result. The door to the lab opened. Kim Sujin walked in. Sujin was young. Only 24 years old. She was a lab technician, quiet and hardworking. She had been helping with the sample analysis for the past 2 days. Now she stood in the doorway with a strange look on her face. Dr. Park, she said, I need to report something. Yuna looked up. What is it? I have a fever. And my last blood test showed something strange. Sujin paused. I think I've been exposed. The words hung in the air like ice. Junho stood up quickly. When? How? I was helping to process the samples from the Corvani. I was wearing gloves, but one of them had a small tear. I didn't notice until later. Yuna moved toward her. Scanner ready. How long ago? 18 hours. 18 hours. In every other species, the changes began within 6 hours. By 18 hours, most victims were unrecognizable, but Sujin looked normal. Tired and scared, but normal. Yuna ran the scanner over her body. The readings made her freeze. The virus is present, she said slowly. It's in your blood. Your cells show signs of genetic activity. Junho stepped closer. But she's not changing. No, Yuna agreed. She's not. They put Sujin in an isolation room. Not a quarantine cell like Hess, but a clean medical room with windows and a comfortable bed. Sujin sat on the edge of the bed, waiting. Hours passed. Yuna and Junho watched through the window, waiting for the changes to begin. They never did. Sujin's fever broke after 24 hours. Her cells continued to show viral activity, but her body did not twist or transform. She remained human. At the 48-hour mark, Junho ran another full scan. He read the results 3 times before he believed them. Her body isn't fighting the virus, he said to Yuna. It's absorbing it. What do you mean? Absorbing. The Shaper is integrating into her DNA, but in a controlled way. Her cells are treating the virus like just another piece of genetic code, filing it away, storing it. He looked at Yuna with wide eyes. She's not immune. She's doing something better. She's taking the virus and making it part of herself. Yuna stared at the data. That's impossible. It's happening. Inside the isolation room, Sujin slept peacefully. She did not know it yet, but she had become the most important person in the galaxy, and outside the station, the Coalition fleet was gathering, waiting for the order to destroy everything. Time was running out. 72 hours after her exposure, Kim Sujin was still human. Dr. Junho stood in his laboratory, surrounded by screens showing genetic data. He had not slept in 2 days. Empty coffee cups covered his desk. His eyes burned, but he could not look away from what he was seeing. This doesn't make sense, he muttered to himself. None of this makes sense. Dr. Yuna entered the lab carrying more test results. Dark circles under her eyes showed her own exhaustion. The latest scans just came back, she said. The virus is still active in her system. It's not dying. It's not dormant. It's integrating. I know. I've been watching it happen. Junho pointed to one of his screens. Look at this. The Shaper virus works by finding stable genetic sequences and rewriting them. It looks for patterns and changes them. That's why every species mutates. Their DNA has clear structure, clear targets. But humans are different? Junho laughed. But there was no humor in it. Humans are a mess. He pulled up a comparison chart. On one side was Talon DNA, clean and organized, like a perfectly written book. On the other side was human DNA, cluttered and chaotic, full of strange sequences that seemed to go nowhere. Human DNA is full of junk, Junho explained. Pieces of ancient viruses that infected our ancestors millions of years ago. Broken genes, repeated sequences, random mutations that never got cleaned up. Our genetic code is like a library where someone threw all the books on the floor and never organized them again. Yuna studied the chart. And the Shaper can't read it? The Shaper doesn't recognize it as a target. When the virus enters a Talon body, it sees clear genetic patterns and starts rewriting them. When it enters a human body, it sees chaos. It's like trying to break into a house that's already been destroyed. There's nothing clean to attack, so instead of rewriting our DNA, it just gets absorbed into the mess. Exactly. Human cells treat the Shaper like just another piece of junk DNA. They file it away with all the other random genetic material we've collected over millions of years. Junho shook his head in amazement. We're not immune because we're strong. We're immune because we're already broken. The door opened, and Captain Taehyun walked in. His face was grim. The Coalition just sent another message. They're giving us 72 hours to show progress. After that, they're destroying the station. Yuna straightened up. We have progress. We have Sujin. One person surviving isn't progress. They want a cure. Then we need more data, Junho said. We need to test more humans. If Sujin isn't unique, if all humans can absorb the virus, then we have something real. Taehyun nodded slowly. I'll call for volunteers. Within hours, 12 human crew members had agreed to controlled exposure. It was dangerous. It was possibly suicide. But they understood what was at stake. Yuna administered small doses of the Shaper virus to each volunteer. Then they waited. One by one, the results came in. Every single human showed the same pattern as Sujin. The virus entered their bodies, began to integrate, and then simply became part of them. No mutations, no loss of control, just absorption. But something else happened too. On day 5, Sujin reported feeling strange. Not bad strange, she said during her checkup. Different strange. Like I can feel things I couldn't feel before. Yuna ran more tests. What she found made her call Junho immediately. Her neural activity has increased by 30%. Yuna reported. Her reflexes are faster. Her senses are sharper. Her cells are regenerating at twice the normal rate. Junho examined the data. The virus isn't just sitting in her DNA. It's expressing. Her body is using the new genetic code. Using it for what? Improvements. The other volunteers began showing similar changes. One man could suddenly see in near darkness. A woman discovered her hearing had become incredibly sensitive. Another volunteer cut her hand by accident and watched the wound heal in minutes instead of days. The Shaper virus, which had destroyed dozens of species, was making humans better. Word spread through the station. The surviving aliens looked at the humans with new eyes. Some with hope, some with fear. Ambassador Velis requested a meeting. He sat across from Junho, Yuna, and Taehyun in the conference room. His old face was impossible to read. You have discovered something extraordinary, he said. Your species can do what no other can. We got lucky. Taehyun said. Our messy DNA happened to be the right kind of mess. Perhaps. Or perhaps there is something else special about humans. Velis leaned forward. The Shaper virus is ancient. It was created by a species that died before my people even existed. They designed it to change life, to force evolution. They could not have known that humans would one day exist. Yet somehow, you are the perfect match for their creation. Junho shrugged. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe the universe has a sense of humor. Velis stood slowly. Whatever the reason, you have given us hope. For the first time since this nightmare began, there is hope, but not everyone felt hopeful. Commander Reth of the Corvani fleet sent a message to the station that night. His face appeared on every screen, hard and suspicious. "We have heard about the human anomaly," he said. "We do not share the ambassador's optimism. Humans can absorb the Shaper without mutation. They can gain abilities from it. This makes them dangerous." Taehyun stepped forward to respond. But Reth continued, "What happens when humans have absorbed enough of the virus? What will they become? Today they are healers. Tomorrow they might be conquerors. The Shaper gives power. Power corrupts." His eyes narrowed. The coalition should consider whether the human threat is worse than the virus itself. The transmission ended. Silence filled the room. Yuna spoke first. "He's afraid. He's not wrong to be afraid," Junho admitted. "We don't know what the long-term effects will be. We don't know how much the virus will change us." Sujin, who had been listening quietly, stepped forward. She looked at her hands, turning them over slowly. "I can feel it inside me," she said. "The virus. It's like having another voice in my head, not controlling me. Just present." She looked up. "I'm still me. I'm still human. I just have something extra now." Taehyun put a hand on her shoulder. "That's all we can promise anyone. We stay human. No matter what changes, we stay who we are." But outside the station, the Corvani fleet was growing larger, and the 72-hour deadline was still counting down. The news spread across the galaxy like light from an exploding star. Humans could absorb the Shaper virus. Humans did not mutate. Humans survived. Within days, messages flooded into Horizon's Edge from every corner of Coalition space. Some were desperate pleas for help. Colonies that had seen their populations transformed into monsters begged for human doctors, human scientists, human blood. They offered anything in exchange. Credits, technology, territory. Other messages were different. Warnings, threats, demands that humans be quarantined, studied, controlled. Commander Reth was not alone in his fear. Captain Taehyun read through the messages in his office. His face grew darker with each one. "Half the galaxy wants to use us," he said. "The other half wants to destroy us." Dr. Yuna sat across from him. "Can you blame them? They've watched entire species get twisted by this virus. Then they hear that one species not only survives but gets stronger from it. That's terrifying. We didn't ask for this. No, but we have it anyway. The question is what we do with it." In the medical lab, Dr. Junho was working on exactly that question. He had been studying the blood of the enhanced humans for days. Something in their cells was able to stabilize the Shaper virus, to control it, instead of being controlled by it. If he could understand how that worked, maybe he could help others. Kim Sujin sat beside him, watching the screens. Her enhanced eyes could now read the tiny data without difficulty. "You think you can make a cure?" she asked. "Not a cure exactly," Junho admitted. "The Shaper can't be killed. It's too deeply integrated into infected cells. But maybe we can make a stabilizer. Something that stops the random mutations. Something that gives the virus direction instead of chaos." "Direction toward what?" Junho looked at her. "Toward what it does to humans. Controlled integration instead of wild rewriting." He worked through the night. The formula was complex. Human genetic material was needed, specifically material from humans who had already absorbed the Shaper. Their cells contained antibodies, proteins, something that helped control the viral integration. By morning, he had a prototype. "I need to test this," he told Yuna. "I need an infected subject, someone in the early stages of mutation." Yuna's face was troubled. "The only infected subjects on the station are too far gone. The virus has already transformed them completely. Then we need new subjects." Ambassador Velis provided them. 3 Talon volunteers who had been exposed to the Shaper but had not yet begun mutating. They were brave souls who knew they were probably going to die but wanted their deaths to mean something. Junho administered the stabilizer to the first volunteer. Everyone watched. Everyone held their breath. For 6 hours, nothing happened. The volunteer, a young Talon named Keth, sat in the medical bay with monitors attached to every part of his body. His vital signs stayed stable. His genetic scans showed viral activity but no mutation. Then, at the 7th hour, Keth gasped. His skin rippled. His bones shifted. Everyone tensed, expecting the worst. But the changes stopped as quickly as they started. Keth's body had changed slightly. His fingers were longer. His eyes were larger. But he was still recognizable. Still Talon. Still himself. "How do you feel?" Yuna asked carefully. Keth flexed his new fingers. "Strange," he said. "But not bad. I feel stronger. My vision is clearer." He looked at his hands with wonder instead of horror. "I thought I was going to become a monster. Instead, I am just different." The second volunteer showed similar results. The third as well. The stabilizer worked, but there was a problem. "The formula requires human blood," Junho explained to the assembled leaders. "Not just any human blood. Blood from humans who have already absorbed the Shaper. Their cells contain the proteins that make stabilization possible." Commander Reth's holographic image flickered with anger. "So humans become the only source of the cure. How convenient." Taehyun stepped forward. "We didn't design this virus. We didn't create this situation. We're offering to help. Help? Or take control." Reth's voice was sharp. "Every species in the coalition will depend on humans for survival. You will have power over all of us. One species, holding the fate of dozens in your hands." Ambassador Velis spoke calmly. "Commander, the alternative is extinction. The Shaper will spread until every species in the galaxy is transformed or dead. Humans offer us a chance to survive. At what cost?" The argument went on for hours. Some species supported the humans. Others shared Reth's suspicions. The coalition was splitting apart even as the virus continued to spread. In the middle of the debate, Taehyun received a message from the station's security team. The Corvani fleet had moved closer. Their weapons were powered up. They were preparing for an attack. Taehyun left the meeting and went to find Yuna and Junho. "Reth is going to attack the station," he said. "He'd rather destroy us than let humans become important." "He's insane," Yuna said. "He's scared. Scared people do crazy things." Sujin had followed them. She listened quietly, then spoke. "Let me talk to him." Taehyun frowned. "What?" "Commander Reth is afraid of what humans might become. Let me show him what we actually are." She held up her hand. A small cut on her palm was already healing, closing before their eyes. "I didn't ask for this power. None of us did, but we have it, and we can use it to help people. That's what humans do. We see someone in trouble, and we help. Not because it benefits us. Because it's right." Taehyun studied her for a long moment. "You want to go to his ship?" "Yes. He might kill you. He might. But if I don't go, he'll definitely kill everyone on this station." Yuna started to object, but Taehyun raised his hand. "She's right. Sometimes the only way to defeat fear is to face it directly." He looked at Sujin with respect. "I'll arrange transport." Sujin boarded a small shuttle and flew alone to the Corvani flagship. Every human on the station watched her go. Every human held their breath. She did not return for 12 hours. When she finally came back, she was smiling. "What happened?" Junho asked. "I talked to him. I showed him what I can do. I let him scan me, study me, ask me anything." She sat down heavily, exhausted but triumphant. "And then I told him that we could help his people, the Corvani who were infected, the ones they've been keeping locked up because they didn't know what else to do. I told him we could stabilize them, save them." Taehyun leaned forward. "What did he say?" "He said yes." Sujin's smile widened. "He's withdrawing his fleet. He's sending the infected Corvani here for treatment." The room erupted in cheers. For the first time since the nightmare began, they had won a real victory. Not through strength, not through weapons, through compassion, through simply being human. 6 months had passed since the darkest days on Horizon's edge. Dr. Kang Junho stood at the window of his new laboratory, watching ships come and go from the station's expanded docking bay. The station had grown in the past months. New sections had been added, new facilities, new purpose. Horizon's Edge was no longer just a research station. It had become a medical center for the entire galaxy. Every day, ships arrived carrying infected patients from dozens of species. Every day, the human medical teams worked to stabilize them. The process was not perfect. Some patients still died, their bodies too damaged by the virus before treatment could begin. Others survived but remained changed, their forms altered in ways that could never be reversed. But most survived. Most kept their minds. Most stayed themselves. The Shaper pandemic was not over. The virus still spread to new worlds and new species, but it was no longer a death sentence. Thanks to the stabilizer formula, thanks to human blood, there was hope. Dr. Park Yuna walked into the lab. She looked tired but satisfied. The latest batch of treatments just finished, she reported. 47 Rithani patients, all stable, all coherent. Junho smiled. That's good news. The Rithani ambassador is calling it a miracle. He wants to give you a medal. I don't want a medal. I want a vacation. Yuna laughed. It was a sound that had been rare in the early days of the crisis. Now it came more easily. You'll have to wait a little longer. There's a coalition ceremony tomorrow. They're officially recognizing humanity's contribution to ending the crisis. I hate ceremonies. I know. But Captain Taehyun says attendance is mandatory. Junho grumbled but nodded. He knew how important it was, not for him personally, but for all of humanity. For 30 years, humans had been the newcomers in coalition space. The young species. The primitives who had barely learned to travel between stars, while others had been doing it for thousands of years. That had changed now. The ceremony took place in the Grand Hall of the Coalition's Central Station. Representatives from every member species attended. Some in person, some as holographic projections. The hall was filled with beings of every shape and size, every color and form. Ambassador Velis spoke first. His voice was old but strong. 6 months ago, we faced extinction. The Shaper virus threatened to transform or destroy every intelligent species in known space. We had no defense, no hope. He paused, looking out at the assembled representatives. Then we discovered something remarkable. One species could do what no other could. One species could absorb the virus, control it, and share that gift with others. He turned to where the human delegation stood. Humans did not create the cure to benefit themselves. They could have used their immunity as power. They could have demanded payment, territory, control. Instead, they offered help freely. They gave their blood, their time, their lives to save species who had often treated them as lesser beings. Velis walked slowly toward Captain Taehyun, who stood at the front of the human group. Today, the Coalition formally offers humanity a permanent seat on the High Council. You have earned your place among us, not through conquest or technology, through compassion. Taehyun accepted the offer with a simple bow. We are honored, he said, but we don't see ourselves as saviors. We just did what anyone should do when others are suffering. We helped. The ceremony continued with speeches and formal procedures. But Junho's attention wandered. He found himself watching Kim Sujin, who stood quietly at the back of the human delegation. Sujin had become something of a symbol over the past months. The first human to absorb the Shaper. The one who had faced Commander Reth alone and convinced him to stand down. She had been offered positions of power and fame, but she had refused them all. After the ceremony, Junho found her standing alone by a viewport, looking out at the stars. You could be leading armies right now, he said, governing planets, having statues built in your honor. Sujin shook her head. I don't want any of that. What do you want? She was quiet for a moment. To understand. The virus is still inside me, still part of me. Sometimes I can feel it, like a second heartbeat. It changed me, and I'm still learning what that means. Do you regret it? Being exposed? No, she said it without hesitation. I'm still human. I still feel human. But I'm also something new. Something that never existed before. She looked at her hands. Maybe that's what evolution is. Not becoming something different. Just becoming more of what you already are. Junho considered this. The Shaper was supposed to force evolution, to change species into something new. It did change us. just not the way it changed everyone else. It found the chaos in our DNA and added to it, made us more chaotic, more adaptable. She smiled slightly. More human. They stood in silence for a while, watching the stars. Finally, Sujin spoke again. There are still millions of infected people out there. Species still suffering. The work isn't done. It never will be, Junho said. There's always more work. Good. Sujin turned away from the window. Then I should get started. She walked back toward the medical bay, where patients were waiting. Junho watched her go. She was young, determined, and carrying a piece of an ancient virus in her blood. She was human, but also something more. Perhaps that was the real lesson of the Shaper crisis. Humanity had survived not because they were perfect, but because they were imperfect. Their messy, chaotic genetic code, full of ancient viral fragments and random mutations, had become their greatest strength. They were already broken in all the right ways, and in a galaxy full of species seeking perfection, maybe that imperfection was exactly what was needed. Junho smiled and returned to his work. Outside the station, ships continued to arrive. Inside, humans continued to help. The universe had tried to break them. Instead, it had shown them who they really were, and they were more than enough.